Yo, what up guys, Toxic here. Hey, I've been pretty busy leveling my other rogue before the pre-patch comes out, so I'm still going to make this guide for you guys, but it's not going to be as long as I hoped. But hopefully you can find some good information on here so you guys can be prepared for when the pre-patch and Burning Crusade comes out. So without further ado, let's get started with the video. Okay, so as you can see here, this is the cost of the armor pieces for rank 13 during the pre-patch. So if you're going to buy any pieces, I would recommend probably buying the shoulders, the gloves, and maybe the helm. In Hellfire Peninsula, you actually get a very nice blue chest piece right away. So in my opinion, it wouldn't be worth it to spend the honor and the marks on the chest piece for the gear here. You can always buy maybe the boots too and some other stuff too, but I would really recommend just buying the main hand rank 14 weapon at least, and maybe a couple pieces of armor. Besides that, you might probably want to just save the rest of your honor and marks for when you hit level 70, as you can get 75,000 honor and 100 marks each to be prepared for when Burning Crusade actually comes out and you get level 70, so you can get a couple pieces of gear right away. So you need about 19k honor and 20 AB marks to get your one-handed weapon. So I would recommend just getting maybe one main hand dagger, so you can be prepared for TBC, have some pretty good weapons. It really doesn't matter too much about your offhand, because you'll be replacing that once you go into Hellfire Peninsula. But I would definitely probably recommend getting at least one of these weapons during pre-patch. Now switching over to the level 70 gear, you can see here that how much honor and marks each weapon cost. But to be honest, I wouldn't even spend your honor and marks too much on these weapons, because you can find better choices. Like if you get exalted with Outdoor, you get a nice epic sword, which I'll show here. Now you're going to want to get exalted with Outdoor anyways, so I would do this as quickly as possible. And you can do this by doing a bunch of Outdoor quests or by farming a bunch of different items. Now besides getting exalted with Outdoor, you do have some other options early on. You can always get revered with Hellfire Peninsula and do Heroic Shattered Halls, and you get this Blade Fist, this fist weapon off the main boss. Now, of course, your best options are usually going to be in the raid, so you want to do the Kara raid as soon as you can. But this raid's probably not going to be out for the first couple weeks, so if you want to get an epic weapon right away, that's pretty decent. I would recommend these two options right here. You can always get the honor weapon as your offhand. Now switching over to the armor pieces, you definitely want to get these as fast as you can when you get level 70, so this is why I would recommend saving 75,000 honor during the pre-patch and trying to get 100 of each mark. That way, when you get 70, you can easily buy a few pieces and grind out the rest, and maybe within a week or so. Okay, so now that you guys have a pretty good idea of what you want to do with your honor during the pre-patch and what you want to buy at level 70, let's move on to the rogue specs that you're going to be wanting to play during Burning Crusade. So starting out, if you want to play with daggers still, you can always play Mutilate spec. Now you don't have to copy this spec verbatim, but this is pretty much the main build that you're going to want to take. You're going to want to go into Subtlety up to Elusiveness and go the rest into Assassination. Now switching over to the Subtlety spec, this is going to be the main sub-spec that you're going to want to take. There are some variations which I'll go over, but this is going to be the main spec that you're going to want to take, especially when people get more resilience. This is another variant of the Shadow Step spec. If you like exposed armor, you'll probably like this spec. You can always take some points out of improved eviscerate and put it into murder instead. Okay, and lastly, this is the spec that you're going to want to go if you want to still have improved ambush for swapping to daggers sometimes. This is probably the spec that I will go during Season 1 because people will have low resilience. Not to mention too, it would be great to have improved ambush for World PvP or BGs or something like that, but being able to switch to that dagger and get a guaranteed crit will just definitely come in handy during Season 1. Okay, so now that we've gone over talents, let's go ahead and go over professions. So for PvP as a rogue, you definitely want to go engineering. Not only is engineering going to be great for World PvP and BGs, it's also going to give you a nice helmet that's going to help you detect stealthies, so it's going to really come in handy versus other rogues and druids in Arena. And eventually you're going to be able to get an epic helmet for engineering, which is going to be almost best in slot till the end of the expansion. So your second profession, you have a little bit more free choice, but I would definitely recommend going jewel crafting as a rogue because not only you're going to get some amazing gems and you could be able to make some decent money, but the main reason I would recommend jewel crafting is because of this attack power trinket that you can make. It's really going to be beneficial when you're fighting against other rogues and druids or just really anyone because it's going to increase your stealth efficiency while giving you a good attack power buff for an on-use effect as well. Alright, so moving on to our next section, we got macros. So starting out, we're going to have the Arena 1, 2, 3 macros. As you can see here, I have Shadow Step Kick macro as one and a Blind macro as another. So you can also put potions in these macros because inside the arena they won't work, but outside the arena they will. So they make great keybinds for potions as well. So I'm going to have all these in the description below for you guys, so I'm going to move on pretty quickly, but these are the Arena 1 through 3 macros. So this is going to be your stealth stat macro for other rogues, but it also is a vanish if you get pulled out of stealth, so you can quickly vanish if you get knocked out. This is a mouse over gouge macro. It will do a normal gouge if you don't have a mouse over target, but if you do have a mouse over, it will mouse over gouge. So this is a premeditation macro. It will just use your premeditation when you're in stealth, and when you're not in stealth, it will use your trinket. Next we got a mouse over kick macro. It's just a normal kick, but also can be applied with a mouse over as well. Next we have mouse over blind. This is just a normal blind macro, but also can be used with a mouse over as well. Now this is a normal sap macro. This is the type of macro that you want to use for normal sap when you're not looking for rogues. Now this is an expose armor macro. This is the type of macro you want to use if you're trying to expose armor without breaking blind or gouge or sap. Alright, next I have a Hemo macro. You can replace this with a Sinister Strike or Mutilate if you want. This macro is good as it helps you start attacking your new target right away, and it also has a stealth and throw element to it as well. Also have a Shadow Step and Kick macro all on one button, and also a Ghostly Strike attack macro with a throw as well. Next we have a Stealth macro. This also hides any error code you get at the top of your screen, which is nice. Also have a focus macro for you guys, which is really nice to have. It's actually a mouse over focus macro, so as you can see here, I'm not even targeting anything, but I'm able to focus the target and clear it right away. Okay, getting to the end of the list, we have a bunch of focus macros: focus gouge, focus corrode, focus sap, focus shadow step, focus kick, focus cheap shot. These will all come in handy in certain situations. Okay, now for the Shiv macros. These are macros that you want to have for swapping your offhand for different poisons. For example, your first Shiv macro would be your crippling poison, and your second Shiv macro would be your wound poison. So you'd have double wound poison, which is nice against healer teams. Your third Shiv macro would be a mind poison when you want to apply against casters. And you can always use your first Shiv macro to swap back to your first weapon that you normally use. Alright, lastly we have our weapon macros. This is just your main weapons that you're normally using. So if you're using different offhand or main hand, it'll just swap back to your normal weapons. Alright, this is the last macro I have for you guys, which is their dagger macro. This switches your main hand dagger and puts your regular offhand back on if you have a different offhand from using a different Shiv macro. You can macro this in with ambush, but I personally just use a separate keybind. Okay, for our last section, I'll recommend some add-ons to you guys. So I have Atlas, but that's mainly for classics, so I'm not going to really count that. My first add-on I'd recommend you guys get is Big Debuffs. This is a great add-on, same with CCC. You guys can kind of test the add-ons yourself, see if you like it or not, but just go ahead and look in curseforge.com. So yeah, Big Debuffs, CCC, Classic Aura, and Classic Cast Bars, you don't need those for TBC, so ignore those. The next add-on I'd recommend is Diminish. This is a great add-on. Track your DRs on your target and on yourself. E-Align can help set up your UI pretty well. And I would also recommend Leetrix Maps and Leetrix Plus. Those are some great add-ons I would be using in TBC as well. Let Me Cast, that's a classic add-on. I'm not going to count that one. Lose Control, I'll definitely recommend that as well for TBC, as well as Omni CC. And another great add-on I'd really recommend is Sappable. This shows when your target is out of combat and is able to be sapped. So I would definitely recommend getting this add-on if you're a rogue player. Snowfall Key Press, I just use this add-on from way back in the day. I still use it. I don't really know if it's 100% mandatory still, but I just always use it. Trinket Menu, that's another good add-on to manage your trinkets in case you're going to want to swap trinkets. And I don't have the add-ons currently. Obviously get Questy if you're going to be leveling in TBC, but I don't have these add-ons currently, but I would definitely recommend getting them. It's either Gladius or S Arena, and also Omnibar, so you can track people's cooldowns and their kicks as well. So yeah, I'll definitely make another add-on video later on, but I kind of just want to make a quick add-on list for you guys, so you guys can go check them out yourself and kind of figure out what you want, what you don't want. So yeah, I hope this short little rogue guide helped you guys. I'm gonna go back to leveling my second rogue before this pre-patch comes, but until the next time, I'll see you guys in TBC.